Let's go through a star voting election, part 1 of 2, explanation and the votes. What is star voting? I like to describe star voting as the ultimate culmination of modern voting science. It was invented in Oregon in 2014 as the unlikely outcome of a conference with the world's leading voting scientists attempting to determine the best voting method. STAR is an acronym for Score, Then Automatic Runoff, and that's how it works. On your star voting ballot, you score each candidate from 0 up to 5 stars, kind of like an Amazon rating. After adding up all of the scores for each candidate, the 2 candidates with the highest scores become finalists who move on to the automatic runoff round, where the finalist you scored higher gets your 1 full vote. Whichever finalist gets the most votes wins. For this election, we'll use the same 7 candidates and 20 voters we used in our ranked choice voting elections and our approval voting election. As a reminder, the candidates are Ava, Bianca, Cedric, Deegan, Eli, Fabio, and Gina, and we'll use the letters A through G to represent them. Here's your ballot. Gina and Deegan are your favorites, so you score them both 5 stars. Then you like Ava, followed by Bianca, with Eli and Fabio after that, leaving Cedric as your only 0-star candidate because he's really polarizing and you'll take anyone over Cedric. The first block of voters really likes Ava, but Bianca is a close second. Bianca has run a really inclusive campaign, so most voters seem to like her. After that, Ava voters disagree about Deegan, Eli, Fabio, and Gina, but they all dislike Cedric, who's been attacking Ava the entire campaign, so they all give him 0 stars. The next 5 voters think Bianca is the bee's knees. Bianca has brought creative solutions to the conversation that everyone can get on board with. She's even managed to escape attacks by befriending other candidates, including Cedric. Even though Bianca voters disagree about Deegan, Eli, Fabio, and Gina, they don't like how aggressive Cedric has been. And Ava lost strong support from Bianca voters when Ava aired attack ads in the final few weeks of the campaign. However, Bianca voters still see Cedric as the biggest threat, so they all give Ava 1 star in case it comes down to those 2 in the runoff. Cedric voters love Cedric and everything he has to say, including all those nasty things about Ava. For Cedric voters, Bianca is the only other candidate who hasn't degraded them, so Cedric voters give her some stars. They have mixed feelings about the rest, but they all agree that Ava doesn't deserve any stars at all. One Cedric voter likes Cedric just as much as the rest, but they met Deegan once and think that they're super cool, so they scored both Deegan and Cedric 5 stars. Beyond that, they mostly agree with other Cedric voters, especially about Ava. It turns out Eli is more popular than people realized and has gained a decent following. Eli voters stick together on their top pick, but deviate from each other after that. And then there's our last Cedric voter with a familiar story. They know Fabio personally, so this voter gave Fabio 5 stars and bumped Cedric down to 4, leaving Ava with 0, like the other Cedric voters. Check out part 2 to add up the scores and see who wins in the automatic runoff. Let's go through a star voting election, part 2 of 2. Score, then automatic runoff. We've already met the candidates and the voters, so let's use their ballots to tabulate the winner. It's pretty simple. The first step is to add up the scores for each candidate. Ava has a score of 30 with an average of 1.5 stars. Bianca has a score of 66 with an average of 3.3 stars. Cedric has a 34 with an average of 1.7. Deegan has 42 with an average of 2.1. Eli has 52 with an average of 2.6. Fabio has 36 with an average of 1.8. And Gina has 40 with an average of 2. Next, we'll take the 2 candidates with the highest scores and make them the finalists for the automatic runoff. In this case, that's Bianca and Eli. In the automatic runoff, we simply go back to the ballots and see how many voters scored either finalist higher than the other. 15 voters preferred Bianca over Eli, 4 voters preferred Eli over Bianca, and 1 voter scored them both the same, so we count her vote as no preference. Bianca wins! Not only did Bianca have the highest score, showing she gained the most support, Bianca was also preferred over the second most supported candidate, Eli, by 75% of all voters. Wow! That was so much simpler than ranked choice voting and only a little more complex than approval voting. And hey, look at these scores. The 2 lowest scoring candidates are Ava and Cedric. It looks like star voting not only rewarded Bianca and Eli for running inclusive campaigns and building coalitions across the political spectrum, star voting actually punished candidates for being highly polarizing and aggressive. Just look at the scores for Ava and Cedric. They're almost all 5s, 1s, and 0s. Imagine how much different our politics would be if candidates actually had to try getting everyone to like them instead of just the bare minimum to beat their only opponent. In voting science, we call this building consensus. When majority is the focus, politicians have no concern about making half of the people angry. In fact, that makes their job easier. But when consensus is the focus, politicians and their ideas actually have to compete to be the most liked by the people. This is the foundational mental hurdle we all need to get over. Majority is not democratic. Democracy is about building consensus. And that starts with the way we pick the people in power. When we're only allowed to support a single candidate or idea at a time, like in choose one voting or ranked choice instant runoff voting, polarity wins because our voice is being restricted and minimized. But when we're allowed to fully support as many candidates as we like at the same time during the tally, like in approval voting or star voting, consensus wins because our voices are unrestrained, allowing us to maximize our collective power as the people. The best news is that we can change our voting methods throughout the US. It's already happened with approval voting in Fargo, North Dakota and St. Louis, Missouri, and star voting is on the precipice of being adopted in Eugene, Oregon. More initiatives for these reforms are starting up throughout the country, so check out starvoting.us and electology.org to learn more. If you like these kind of videos, give me a follow and share this with your friends. And if you have any questions, please reach out.